family. This is Christina.
And Kaden.
And today we're going to talk about 7 financial questions you should ask your spouse or partner before you get married.
And some of these are really juicy, so make sure you stay to the end.
Remember to like, subscribe, and share the video.
And hit the bell to be notified of when we post something new.
So let's dive right in. The first question that you should ask your partner is, are you a saver or a spender? And I think this question is very important because it talks about your partner or spouse's financial habits. And so when it comes to building wealth, you have to have a game plan. And so knowing your partner's financial habits can help you to develop the game plan in order to build wealth.
Absolutely. And Dave Ramsey kind of classifies it a little different in terms of us free spirits and a nerd. And the nerd is the one that's really geeky about saving and finances and all that type of stuff. And the free spirit is the one that, go where life takes them. I definitely think that I am a nerd by heart.
Sure.
I love saving. If any of my family members was watching this, they will tell you from the time that I came out my womb, I was saving. I probably have my placenta saved somewhere. But yeah.
And I would say that I'm a moderate free spirit. So I love to spend money on eating out. Like, that's my thing. But I'm not too extravagant about how I spend money. So I'll call myself a moderate free spirit.
Yeah, I've always thought of her as kind of like a saver more than a spender, but definitely a free spirit. And so the second question that you really should be asking your partner before you get married, and this one can be very, very dicey, but is how much debt do you have?
That can be a difficult topic to approach too, but I think that it's important that you know what you're getting into before you're married. And so when you know what you're getting into, you're able to develop a plan with your partner to help pay off that debt, because we know that paying off debt is a key step in building wealth.
Yeah, no, this is a very, very difficult thing to talk about. And this is where some partners may even decide to lie about it just because they don't want their partner to know how much student loan debt they have or credit card debt. And we know that marriages, financial reason is one of the top reasons for the divorce. And so going into this with a clear mind of, okay, this is how we're going to address this problem is so crucial. So it's difficult but needed. Talk about how much debt you guys have.
Absolutely. And when you talk about how much debt you have, the third question you should talk about is, do you plan on paying the debt together or separately?
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. We all come into marriages with different perceptions about money. Some people come in with, this is your money, this is my money, and others come in with the perception that this is our money. And we have a preference ourselves in terms of joining it together, but no one is totally wrong. We understand that people choose to either keep their money separate or together for different reasons, but this can be a big source of tension in a relationship, so that needs to be discussed. Are you guys going to be tackling stuff together? Are you guys going to be combining your finances? Even if you don't firmly know, even going into marriage, you have to have the conversation.
I think that's a great segue into our fourth question, which is, should you combine finances?
Yeah, should you combine finances? We actually did a video about this and we posted it to Facebook, and different people had different opinions. We actually had we're definitely for combining finances, even from a biblical standpoint. So that's the first foundation we have for combining finances. But even past that, we see a lot of couples and a lot of financial literacy books talk about couples that combine finances tend to do better. And so that is our particular stand. But we had a lot of good comments on Facebook about people deciding to keep it separate just because, we are a society that appreciates our autonomy today, and keeping your finances separate, even with your spouse or your partner, is one way to give yourself autonomy. Not for us, but that is one thing that people do decide to do out there. And you really want to have that conversation before you get married.
At least know what you're going to do
there.
and be on the same page. That's the key.
Yeah. So the fifth question that we have for you is, what is your credit score?
And credit score is definitely important to know, because when it comes to purchasing big things like a house or a car, you need to have a good credit score in order to do certain things that you want to do in life, if that's your goal.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely when it comes to purchasing those big items like a home or a car, it can be crucial. It can be the difference between a 3.5 on a $400,000 mortgage or a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% interest rate on a mortgage. And that amounts to a lot of money over the course of 30 years. And so your credit score is so important. We know different people feel differently about this, but this is something that we are definitely passionate about, having a good credit score. But even if you don't, you should be having that conversation before you go into marriage, so you guys can plan accordingly. And maybe if one of your partners have a good credit score and the other doesn't, then you guys can share information to get both of you on the same page.
And you can also share information about how to help build each other's credit score if that's what you need to do. And remember, like, being in a marriage is all about being a part of a team. And it's important to be vulnerable if you don't have such a great credit score, if you don't have a lot of debt. Just being able to share that information with your partner so that you all can work it out together is very important.
Absolutely.
The sixth question is, what is your timeline for buying a home? We know that buying a home is probably the biggest purchase a person will make in their lifetime. And so discovering the timeline that you want to buy the home can help you to plan out how much you need to save in order to purchase a home. Even talking about if you want to move or stay in the same state, it just sparks a lot of conversation about how you're going to plan out your future.
Yeah, I know, in all transparency, this is not a question that we personally discuss. Most of the questions we definitely tackled before getting married, but this is one that we actually didn't even think about talking about. What were our timelines for buying a house? Could that determine significantly how we decide to save for our house, what we do with our finances, do we invest? And I would definitely say that I was a little more on the side of, we may be moving in the next couple of years, we don't know, or we may be here for a long time, we don't know, and so I wasn't sure if we should or shouldn't buy a house, or shouldn't save a lot for a house. But it was a really good conversation to have that we did have in marriage, but we think it would be even better to have even before you get a marriage, because it just sets you on that right financial path. What is your timeline for buying a home? I think my timeline was a little further out and my wife was a little closer, and we were just like, okay, so we have a difference of opinions here. Let's work through it.
And when we did sit down and have that conversation, I expressed that the reason I wanted to purchase a home was for stability. Let's be real, in Boston, no rent control, rent increasing like 10% every year, and we would have to move almost every year to just keep the budget that we have. So for our child and for our family, I wanted stability, and that's why I wanted to buy a home sooner rather than later.
And that made complete sense to me. I think a home purchase is definitely one of those things that you do for stability and security. It's not necessarily a financial investment, even though a lot of people think of their home as an investment. And your home could be if you're renting out your property, but the one of the real reasons to buy a home is for security and stability, which allows you to live a life of, I think, a lot less stressful, especially in a city like Boston, where the rent constantly go up. And so I think it's a beautiful thing to buy a home. And so that was a great idea, a great conversation to be had. And we'll be doing a video about the conclusion of that.
And the seventh And final question, and probably the most difficult question for
Ooh,
some.
don't say it.
Is, do you plan on supporting your family outside of the marriage financially?
Yeah, and so this is a really big question, especially in communities of colors. The idea is almost that you go out there, your parents support you, you get a good job, and then you kind of help your family a little. Even if you're not living at home, you just help out as much as you possibly can. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have this conversation before going into marriage. Thankfully, it is a conversation that we had. We kind of figure out, okay, do we plan to help family at all? And if so, how much do we plan to help family? And this had nothing to do with whether or not our family had expectations. It's just what we personally felt. I don't want to say responsible like we had to, but what we felt like, out of the blessings that God has given to us, what we should do to also help support and lift our family. And so, but this is certainly important to go into marriage with having that conversation just to make sure you and your spouse is on the same page or not on the same page, and then you guys can go from there.
Because even if you as a couple make a decision not to support each other's family and you have been supporting them, it can cause friction within your family, and which can cause friction in turn in your marriage. So this is a very important topic to discuss, and not only to discuss, but to be on the same page about.
Awesome. Yeah. Whew. Hopefully I don't get no emails about that final question. But yeah, thank you again for watching. We truly appreciate it. If you haven't already, please smash the like button, subscribe to our channel to support the page, share the video, bless someone, even if they're not thinking about getting married right now. This is good information to know for our sons and daughters out there.
So remember, we love you and
live your best life.